Good evening. This is CTV News for Wednesday, June 11th. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Patricia Malone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, early voting for the Maryland primary is tomorrow, and officials are encouraging you to get out and vote. Governor Martin O'Malley spoke with Marylanders today, and as CTV Stephen Graves explains, he has high hopes for voter turnout this year.
If you do not vote, you are retreating from a journey to perfection for the state of Maryland. That's what Governor Martin O'Malley and Speaker of the House Michael Bush are saying today in Annapolis as they encourage residents like you to vote in the early primary coming up. Governor O'Malley started out by saying in 2012, 16% of all votes were cast during this early voting season. That's almost 1 in 5 Marylanders who voted early. He also says it's your civil right to vote, so get out there and vote for who you believe should be elected. He also talked about voter turnout this year. Listen to what he had to say.
And when you look at all that so many Marylanders and so many families have sacrificed so that people in other countries around the world would have the right to vote, I think the least we can do to honor their service and sacrifice is to make sure that we vote here. So we do want a higher turnout. We do want our democracy to work, and we know our democracy, just like our economy, works best when more people are participating.
There's been numerous times that have been documented throughout the country where not enough voting machines show up at a certain poll that is not in the best interest of some of those who want to limit early voting. Here in Maryland, we want to give everybody that opportunity to have that franchise to vote.
Officials say the reasoning for having this early voting week is to avoid weather and long line delays that may come during voting day. That's why they encourage residents like you to get out there and vote early tomorrow. In Annapolis, Stephen Graves, CTV News.
And to find early voting polling places near you, you can visit elections.maryland.gov. Early voting lasts until July 19th.
And for those of you who receive emergency text alerts like the ones sent out yesterday about those heavy storms, you want to hear about this. Our region is getting a new and more interactive alert system. It's called Capital Alert, and its rollout was among the items talked about at a Council of Governments meeting today. In our area, the new system will cover portions of Virginia, D.C., as well as Montgomery and Prince George's counties. 18 jurisdictions in all will be covered.
Features with the system. It allows some of the same things as the previous alert system, which is traffic alerts, weather alerts, emergency alerts, things like that. But this also has some two-way capability, which the old system didn't have, which is very exciting. There's a mobile app that can be downloaded, which wasn't available. So if you're see a weather event coming and you're out in your yard and you see something coming your way, you can actually, if you download the mobile app, you can take a picture of the weather event and send it back to your jurisdiction, and that helps the Office of Emergency Management in that jurisdiction really get some real-time photos and interaction with people on the ground, and really helps with crowdsourcing and things like that.
Implementation differs depending on jurisdiction. In Prince George's, the new alert system starts on June 25th. Note, you'll have to sign up for the program. For more information, go to capitalalert.gov, and be careful how you spell it. That's capitalalert.gov. And Prince George's police are speaking out after the arrest of one of their own. Corporal Joey Torres has been charged with first and second degree assault. Published reports indicate a road rage incident that allegedly involved the officer pulling his weapon. This happened in Anne Arundel County yesterday. Now, Prince George's Police Chief Mark McGaw released this statement saying the department takes these allegations very seriously and high expectations are held to any officer, whether on or off duty. Torres has been suspended with pay pending the outcome of an investigation. He's been on the force for 10 years. And ex-cop Johnny Riley of District Heights is currently awaiting his sentence after being convicted of first and second degree assault yesterday. He's accused of shooting an unarmed, handcuffed man in the back during a traffic stop in 2012. Well, today's state's attorney Angela also Brooks is speaking out about this and the challenges that come with prosecuting law enforcement in the county.
So much on the relationship that we've developed with police. It is a trusted relationship that we have. We share the same interest in terms of seeking justice, and so it is difficult for us. I think most especially it's difficult to prosecute police officers who are acting in the course of their duties and employments. But ultimately we are really careful to make sure that we never violate the trust of the residents and citizens who send us here, and they've asked us to do justice in these cases, and we do.
Now, Riley's sentencing is scheduled for July 30th.
The American Civil Liberties Union sends a letter to all Maryland detention centers notifying them of recent court decisions that raise Fourth Amendment concerns. The ACLU says the federal court decisions raise constitutional concerns and that counties may be liable for damages to individuals they detain.
They're being used in Maryland. Last year, we sent a Public Information Act request to all the detention facilities, including Prince George's County, to see how they're actually responding to these requests. And then we issued a report. We found that the highest number of immigration detainer requests are coming out of Prince George's County, actually. We also found that it's overwhelmingly used against Latinos and people with minor offenses. In the last few months, 3 federal courts have found that there are serious Fourth Amendment issues with detaining someone on the sole basis of a detainer request.
And Shabaya gives an example of a typical case where an immigrant would be detained.
Let's say you're driving without a license, for example, and a police officer pulls you over, finds that you don't have a driver's license, normally would issue a citation or something like that, but has a suspicion that you might be undocumented. So now takes you over to the detention center and processes you there. Once you get there, an immigration detainer request comes back for you, and then you end up sitting in a detention facility and then transferred to ICE and then potentially placed in deportation proceedings.
Now, immigration detainers are not judicial warrants. Compliance is not mandatory, but many counties detain immigrants on offenses such as minor traffic violations. The Maryland Attorney General's office issued a letter of advice last year saying that compliance with immigration detainer requests is discretionary. Well, as the primary elections approach, some Prince George's and Montgomery communities are calling for affordable housing to be a front and center issue. In Maryland, the average 2-bedroom apartment runs nearly $300 a month, or $1,300 a month. In the D.C. area, the rent is even higher.
She's lived in Prince George's County for 5 years, and she has seen the rents increase year after year.
Policymakers and organizations held a press conference this morning to try and change that.
In Montgomery County and Prince George's County, almost 50% of families are house burdened. This means they usually find themselves with not enough money to pay rent, to pay food, to pay transportation, to pay for child care.
Obviously, this one's dealing with the Purple Line and the development coming through, gentrification. I think we all want good development. We need the commercial tax base to come through. And part of it is the displacement of our hard-working citizens, the residents of Prince George's County, and in this case, Prince George's and Montgomery County. I think it's a special, it's an interesting issue because we hear it across the state. As a state legislator, I know I'm a big proponent of having rent stabilization for this particular purposes, and especially in areas that are receiving tax dollars.
And Maryland has the highest number of foreclosures in the nation so far this year, with Prince George's leading the state. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Byron Scott.